looks like one of the big features of the last Titan is actually going to be a huge playable character customization revamp, like a whole overhaul of the entire system of our playable races. Looks like we got some really exciting news from an official interview from just a few days back, where Blizzard has not only acknowledged that some races are kinda completely outdated in terms of customization options compared to the newer ones, but they also confirmed that they're actively working on this feature. Even more interestingly, we're not talking about just a few reskins, we're talking about an animation rehaul as well, and very likely not just fixing outdated animations, but probably new combat, new idle animations, player housing interaction animations, and a whole bunch of other possible features. So let's examine everything we currently know. Anything Warcraft related, Warhammer, Destiny, pretty much any game you can imagine, you can get at the best market prices with my link in the description below on Gamivo. On top of that, I got mobile top-up, software, a whole bunch of other things. Even better, if you use my code DORON, you will get another discount on top, so click my link in the description and check out Gamivo. So we legit have some really interesting information that is very likely going to happen in The Last Titan based on how it was described in this latest interview we got from the WoW design director. So now with the new transmog system and the player housing that we got, Blizzard has addressed something specifically, and that is how the team is actively discussing behind the scenes and planning to fix the issue of a lot of our races being outdated when it comes to customization. And interesting enough, not just like reskins and customization, a few more hero options, but we're talking about like a whole system, like a new system of playable races, like animations and everything else that comes with it. Realistically, this has always kind of been their main focus, as we've gotten updates so many times over the years. I mean, honestly, it makes me feel old, as I still remember 2014 and the big Warlords of Draenor overhaul, when a lot of people complained about the new models and wanted the old classic models back. But when you look at this, it has been almost 12 years since that update, so it's been about like actually less than it was between Classic and the Warlords of Draenor. So now those Warlords of Draenor are even more outdated, like those models are 12 years old. Now, that was the first major revamp of the core races, but then they started slowly updating others as well, like the newer races, like the Blood Elves were outdated almost immediately after. That happened in Warlords of Draenor, and then they even updated the Cataclysm races, like the Worgen and the Goblins in BFA. However, when you think about it, as soon as they update the older ones, the other ones get more outdated as time goes by, and they have been aware of that. And over the past few years, I mean, we have received some really interesting updates to customization in these minor patches, but it has kind of been scattered and kind of all over the place. So, for example, following the Shadowlands, the humans got a very high number of customizations and a whole bunch of various features. However, a bit of a problem that they discussed in this interview is that the newer races got more attention, like the Traktir and the most recently the Haranir as well. Like a big problem is the Haranir are getting features that we had never previously seen on the core races before, like the bioluminescent body paint, the various task customizations, and hair that is not just a haircut. That really makes them feel like a race that is very diverse with all the features that you can choose. I mean, when you compare this to even the races that currently have a lot of features, it's mainly just different types of faces and hair, but they still kind of look the same, which does cause a big discrepancy between the various playable races. Even despite the big updates that we had gotten over the various patches over the years, certain races still need just more variation overall, like the Tauren and the Worgen and the Goblins. A lot of these are really missing a lot of facial variation, and their customization just doesn't feel like it is nearly on the same level as the newer playable race customization is. Now, what is really interesting that they discuss here is that we're not going to get these types of updates in the future, like minor patches with one race customization like we have gotten so far, with like one patch giving more human customization, the other giving more color to the Blood Elven eyes. No, the design director for WoW, Maria Hamilton, talked about how currently there isn't a fixed roadmap at the moment, but the team is actually planning to address these issues all at once as this like big upcoming feature, instead of doing it through multiple minor updates. I mean, just think how many different races we have. It's not really a unified system. Like Undead can choose to have like no jaw or a deformed jaw, while new races can get into very tiny details and like eyelash types. What the principal artist from Blizzard talked about is just how, as Blizzard decided to drop the player housing as a whole system kinda all at once, as well as the new transmog system, they talked about how character customization is actually going to be treated the same way. Interesting enough, they said that while they're starting to move down the road, that we shouldn't expect it in the next patch, like it's not going to happen in the next few months, but it is going to be happening down the road, but it's not soon. So based on this interview, this very likely implies that they're probably saving this as like a big announcement feature for this year's BlizzCon when they announced the Last Titan. I mean, think about it, something like character customization, rehaul coming at the Last Titan, so instead of one race having like 15 options, the other having 5, they're probably going to make this entirely equal for every single race. With the fact that Midnight was announced just on like a random game amongst a whole bunch of other games, the Last Titan is actually getting a whole BlizzCon this September, and I think they're in fact saving kind of the big hitter features of the World Soul Saga for the finale of the saga. They have recently hinted at more revamps for the regular world, so I think them saying how all our races are getting changed might actually be good marketing to get players to start playing the Last Titan. However, what I found incredibly interesting in this interview is not just the character customization. I mean, I'm not saying the Tauren are going to get another fur color and the Vorgen will get like 2 more faces and that is going to be a big feature. I mean, they are talking about rehauling playable races overall. As they state in the interview, they have discussed improving character animations and adding new types of animations later down the line as well. Now, if you guys remember the small updates they gave us over the years, I mean, for example, we did actually get a new leaning animation, new sitting animations that we had, for example, seen for the Pandaren, and a whole bunch of various minor features. I mean, this time it's actually going to be different, as they're talking as like a big project for all the races, so setting the ground for all the races. So while we are talking about the technical depth and fixing some outdated animations and probably making them more aligned with the new content, we could see fixes on like weapon holstering and any problems with like clipping and like more fluid regular movement. However, what I think they're talking about here is probably also updating the combat animations, as well as adding a whole bunch of new stuff that is related to player housing. So we could probably see more idle poses for our characters, we could see more diverse combat stances, different casting animations. However, I think a big point could be the player housing system, so interacting with the environment type animations. So think about like more things like leaning against walls, lying in bed, sitting, or interacting with the environment, or emotes, talking with other players, just to kind of make the characters feel more alive. It actually makes complete sense seeing how they worked for years on player housing and how much time they actually put into it. I mean, just like building this entire environment so that your character can enjoy the fruits of his labor in like full 2004 animation glory. I mean, it just doesn't really do it justice. And seeing that they're probably not actually changing the skeletons, it's actually not a whole lot of work for them to just make animations more fluid and add a whole bunch of new ones as well. Interesting enough, and I mean, they did recently update animations to give more class flavor and make the classes feel more distinct, so I think they might be expanding more on this aspect as well. I mean, think about how, for example, healers could be having like different idle animations with like a meditation type stance, while tanks would have a more braced, like protective idle stance. I mean, realistically, all of these are just small and like very discrete features that no one would really care if it just came in a single patch, but I think this is why they're planning to combine all these like minor updates into like one big system as like a whole expansion feature. So when you really combine all these details into one, it would actually be an impactful update. Thanks for watching. Check out how we would like to get to Siltos by the end of Midnight in 12.2 by clicking on the screen, and check out my brand new Witcher lore channel that I just opened by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.